Drake.
What's up with the angry look, brother? Now you're gonna show off guns?
Hey, you know, you're not,
Put 'em
so
up
I
there,
figured
dude.
I would.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to break these out for everybody, brother. They get timid, you know. That West Texas muscle. Hey, so welcome to another night of the Hangout Live. We are back and in studio, and we actually have a guest this week that I'm really looking forward to. But before we get to that, dude, are you watching Yellowstone?
I'm not, because I don't get it. It's not. What is it? What is it on?
What? You don't get it?
No, because we only have Netflix. It's not on Netflix, and we've got Amazon, and we've got Hulu.
It's on Hulu, dude.
Oh, it's on Hulu?
All 4 seasons, bro. They just started the new one.
We're gonna start watching it then. Promise.
I'm wearing my hat in honor of John Dutton, man.
Is that why you're wearing your hat? Okay.
It's the greatest show on television. Joan Chapman, see, well, Yellowstone's fantastic. Yes, it is.
I'm going to check it out. You know, you've told me that before, and now that I know it's on Hulu, for some reason I thought we couldn't get it. I'm going to find out. I will find out tonight.
Yeah, all 4 seasons are on there, brother. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Hey, everybody that's joining us in tonight. I appreciate you guys for logging in and hanging with us. So, it's been kind of a long week. Robbie working out at the golf course and the radio station's making a lot of things happen. How's your week been?
Mine been good. Getting a lot of stuff done in the studio. Getting some stuff done for a new act I'm working with, playing with, writing with. Jesse Blaze.
Jesse Blaze?
Jesse Blaze.
Yeah. Looks like there's a blaze on my hat right now.
It does.
I guess I'm a little hot-headed, dude.
Hey, I have to say, am I clear now? The camera's clear, right?
You are clear.
You know what it was?
What?
All these months, 6 months, year, whatever I've had, a year and a half. There was a film on front of it, a piece of film in front of it. I tore it off and I went, "Are you kidding me? This whole time I never noticed that."
Seriously?
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Wow. Well, you do live where the token smoke is legal, so you know.
I do.
That explains a lot of things. All right, brother, let's get after it. I'm going to let you do the intro.
Byron Hontas, he's on the show tonight, and man, we're going to have a lot to talk about. So much, we're probably going to break this into 2 series because he's good friends with Jack Russell, so we're going to do something closer to the holidays with him and Jack involved too. But we'll talk about all kinds of interesting stuff. I definitely want to get into his thing with the Party Ninjas. He's been involved with some really good kind of charity stuff that's with a lot of really great musicians and really good causes. We definitely will want to talk about that amongst a bunch of other things. I mean, we'll just see where it goes, right?
All right, let's bring him in.
There I am.
There you are.
Welcome to the show.
Wow.
Brother.
There you go, Drake.
There we go, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Look at those guns.
Hey, I bet you could handle yourself in a pen with Rip. Talking about Yellowstone. There you go.
Absolutely. See, now, Robbie, now you look foolish because you don't know who Rip is, do you?
I don't. How would I?
Man, I tell you.
He doesn't lose very many fights, that's for sure.
Nah. It's not somebody you want to play with.
Not at all.
So we just actually watched right before coming to log into this. We watched the second part of the first night, Yellowstone. So I'm all ripped up right now, you know.
There you go. Yeah, it's. I haven't seen all the episodes, but every time I tune in, it's a trip. It's very well done. It's good.
Right on. Jennifer says hello, Byron.
Hey, Jennifer, how you doing?
Right. All right. So, Robbie.
Yes.
Watch this. I'm gonna put you in the driver's seat. Watch. Boom! You're in the driver's seat, baby.
There you go.
You're gonna kick us off tonight. You're driving.
Okay, let's talk with Byron here. Let's find out a little bit about doing any of the label stuff.
Okay.
Music in the house. I mean, growing up. Where did you grow up?
Cleveland, Ohio. I was a frustrated musician. In fact, I played the violin better than I could play a guitar. So I had to do something. I read Danny Sugarman's book and one on Led Zeppelin, and I said I've got to find a way to get into the music business. I was fortunate enough to go to a school down at Washington Jefferson in Pennsylvania, and I started promoting concerts down there. Everybody from Donnie Iris to Michael Stanley, Outlaws, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. And so I thought, okay, maybe that might be able to write my ticket to get into the music business somehow, somewhere. I don't know. I just needed to be in because I wasn't going to make it playing the guitar, okay, or anything else for that matter. And no one wants to hear me sing. Trust me on that. I don't care how much Pro Tools you put on my voice. It ain't going to work. So anyhow, I went to New York. Nothing was happening out there. I went back. I was bartending, and I was fortunate to meet a guy by the name of Kevin Dugan. I was working with his girlfriend at the time, bartending, and he was production manager and Michael Anthony's bass tech for Van Halen. And I struck up a friendship with him, probably over a few extra free shots that I was giving him. But, you know, he knew I wanted to get in the music business. He said, hey, we're playing down in Pittsburgh this weekend. I don't want Jeannie to drive down all alone. Why don't you come down with her? So I went down, and oh my God, what an eye opener it was. You know, you walk into one of the suites and there's a big old plate of that powder stuff on the table, anything and everything you want to drink, all kinds of craziness going on. Got to go see the show from the side of the stage, underneath the stage, doing shots at Jack with Michael and with Kevin while, you know, Alex and Eddie were doing their solos. And lo and behold, got to meet some people. Came out to California, was sleeping on Kevin's couch for a bit, and I got an internship at Elecktra Records. It was one of the last stops. I walked in with my a suit on and my dad's briefcase with his initials on it, and I think like the sports page was the only thing on the inside. Oh, and a Thomas guide. Okay, everybody needed a Thomas guide to get around. This was 1984. And this woman, Sue Satriano, said, hey, I need an intern in the publicity department. I had no idea what that was. What's publicity, you know? And lo and behold, I started in there with a typewriter, folding, sealing envelopes. And that's when Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. That was during right halfway through their routine. It did well with that. And they said, okay, here we have something we're not quite sure how to work with, because they're certainly not going to get any airplay and they're not going to be on MTV. And that band was Metallica. And they had a huge groundswell. I have my Cliff Burton t-shirt on right now.
Nice.
Rest in peace, Cliff. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They, you know, their first publicity photo was going to be a problem because, you know, there's Cliff doing one of these and he has a fuck you t-shirt on. You know, like LA Times ain't going to be printing none of that stuff.
Right,
No ants. And lo and behold, they had such a huge groundswell. We were able to work the fanzines, and you know, they came over the first tour. They were supporting Armored Saint.
Wow!
And I remember doing the Palladium, and you know, they were in a support position, and you could just tell there was something different about these guys. Probably the hardest working band. I mean, I've worked with a lot of good bands that really handle their business. But, you know, these guys would leave the venue after their crew. Literally, their bus would leave after the crew because they were hanging out with the fans, you know, doing all kinds of things with them, signing the autographs, being more interactive than you know, a lot of the other greats that I had the privilege to work with. So I started as a publicist and working with the media. You know, back then there was no internet, none, zero. In fact, we got our first fax machine to get the charts, literally a fax machine, so that we could get the charts on Tuesday and know exactly what we're going to start setting up for Wednesday, etc. That's how old that was. I mean, we got the first Motorola flip phones. Remember those? Way back. No pictures, no nothing. Yep. So it was a whole different world, But Elecktra Records was so cool at the time because, you know, they started out with, you know, the Metallica with the heavy metal. They were working with the Cure, Motley Crue, you know, as far as, you know, the more of the hair band. I hate that name, but, you know, that type, that genre of music, Grandmaster Flash. I mean, really the OG of the hip hop and everything that's going on today. Right. White Line, lo and behold, working that White Line. And then they also had a great R&B department, Midnight Star, Shalimar. You know, these were some fun acts to work with. And, you know, and it was crossing all genres of music like we were talking earlier, which made it so fun and exciting. I wasn't just, working, the fanzines for the Metallica, the heavy metal side, literally going to Solid Gold and, trying to peek up the dresses of the Solid Gold dancers. But it was a lot of fun back then, and it was a whole different world. No internet, absolutely none. In fact, photographers had to get passes to go to the shows to take pictures of the bands, and then the bands would get approval of those shots. Unlike today, you just walk around with your cell phone, and take whoever you want, whatever you want, wherever you want.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different world back then. But as far as someone saying, hey, I would like to get into the music business, an internship, whether it be with an agency, whether it be with a promoter, whether it be with, just anyone that deals with entertainment, even the guys that run the sound and lights for your, the local clubs, etc. Anywhere that you could start networking is the way that I found out that it worked for me, because I wasn't anybody special. I wasn't part of a Silver Spoon Club, that's for sure, coming from Ohio. And lo and behold, I was I don't know how many gold and platinum records later for, marketing purposes. I felt that, I had a good run and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute.
Hell yeah. Jennifer Varner wants to know, how was the relationship working with Metallicon albums such as Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets in the studio?
It was fun. It was fun. Those guys, it was very serious, but then they also took their time out to go out and have some beers and chill out and just cut it out a little bit. I mean, we were at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, I don't know how many nights a week. They literally recorded. Ride the Lightning was already done. Fleming Rasmussen produced that record. But Master of Puppets, a lot of it was recorded on Lankershim Boulevard in North Hollywood, right near that studio, One on One, I believe it was called, right near Tokyo Delves. And so they were, staying at either the Franklin Plaza Suites or, any one of these number of places. And, when they were done, we were at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and then literally they'd go back into the studio and start working some stuff. But it was just fun because it was exciting, and they were young, and everybody was young at that time. And it's a lot different working with 20-year-olds than it is with 40, 50, 60-year-olds. It's a whole different deal. And like I said, they had a plan. Lars and James and Cliff and Kirk, they had a plan. And lo and behold, look what they've done with themselves.
Took over the world, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when we went to the Rainbow, I'm sure Lemmy was there probably every time.
Oh my God, Lemmy was there. The Guns guys were there. Any one of a million bands coming through. I miss the Zeppelin guys miss Robert Plant coming through. I remember he made a couple of appearances, but literally, I was fortunate to have an expense account and a decent salary, and it was all spent. It was all spent. Mario Sr., who ran the Rainbow Bar and Grill, I remember going and showing him my expense reports and how much I was charging back to the labels, and he just had a laugh because literally something was going on there every night, as it was outside the Roxy, outside the Whiskey. Yeah. Sunset Boulevard, they didn't have all of the laws where you couldn't loiter. So people were handing out, the way you advertise your bands back then was by flyers, literally a printed flyer. And see all of these guys. I mean, you talk to the Poison guys or the Motley Crue or Guns, they were all living just right near Sunset Boulevard because that's where everything was happening. They were living off any one of a number of girls or whatever there, but I mean that they were in that zone where they had to be where it was going on, and that was Sunset Boulevard.
It was a crazy party scene. I mean, I lived in Arizona, but started traveling out and doing shows, and the first time I came out and saw it, it was like the whole street was packed. And I went and I started collecting flyers, and it's like, I'm not taking them down to take them. I collect them. I still have them. I ended up grabbing a Poison flyer. It said, swallow this one. I got a Warrant flyer.
Right.
Lots of flyers are bands that never made it, but those two, I still have their flyers somewhere because it was in a stack. I was going, I just wanted to bring them home. There was flyers everywhere, flyers on top of flyers on top of flyers. I mean, it was just a huge party. I was a kid in a candy store, my jaw just went like,
oh, of course.
You know,
of course, it was heaven. And to be able to have an office just right down the street, we had a few late night parties at the office. We did. I was at Elecktra Records from 84 to 87, and then Capitol Records from 87 to 94. And,
Wow.
Got to see the big Howard Stern party outside the Palace from my window at Capitol Records. And when Howard did his big live event there, and just all the venues were so active back then. It was a great time to be involved in the music business. I'm grateful. I'm more than grateful.
Hell yeah. Lisa Williams wants to know if you knew Phil Tanzini.
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not putting a picture to it. So I'm sure if I saw a picture of him, oh, that guy, there's a lot of that with me, plus I'm in my 60s now. So I forget, the memory's not as good as it used to be. But if he was around and involved, I'm sure either he poured a beer on me or I did to him, something of the sort. But thank you for that question.
Absolutely. So
yeah, it really was like a golden era of music at that time. It was a golden era. You really could look at it that way because the scene, it wasn't just there, but if you went around the country and saw it, everybody had a vibrant music scene.
Right.
There was so many big clubs supporting so many bands on smaller levels all the way up. I mean, it's just
that was a great way to get bands started because I can name back then 100 clubs in 100 different cities that had, you could literally start a tour and just hit those clubs. Even as a support act, you get the van, load up the van, sleeping bags in the van. And if you had any sort of money or a marketing budget, they would put you out there and literally just go from here to Vegas, up to Salt Lake City, then you go over to San Antonio, whatever, et cetera. But you would do all the major clubs, especially the East Coast was great because they were a lot closer together and you could get a lot more bang for your buck. But every night in these clubs, they would have, a rock night or an R&B night or something that you could get on the bill and, develop a following that way. Because remember here, there was no internet back then.
Yep.
Zero, Zubba. We're talking print.
We could disconnect back then.
The fanzines were big. Band magazines, the LA Weekly, amongst another, the smaller fanzines, et cetera. That's how people, learned about their favorite musicians. You had to read about them.
Yeah.
Yep. God, I remember those magazines.
A lot of excitement. A lot of
excitement. Beat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Roxy and the Whiskey were two of the best places to go at. The Troubadour, literally each night would have someone different there. I remember Guns getting signed the night they got signed at the Troubadour. I remember Nickelback coming in and playing the Whiskey, Metallica playing the Palladium. They came in, did that again. What is about 5 years ago. Just great memories of these bands playing these small clubs, and lo and behold, not only did Elton John get a break out of the Troubadour, but that's where Guns N' Roses was signed. I remember that show that night. That's when they said, "All right, we're going to Geffen."
Wow,
really?
So you saw that? You actually saw that?
Well, I didn't see them actually do it, but that was the evening that everything went down. That's when all the rest of the labels said, "All right, we're done. It's not going to happen."
Oh,
wow!
Because everybody wanted them, and they were something unique and different at the time. I know Vicky Hamilton had a hand in on them, and Tom Zutaut certainly went in and grabbed these guys for the label. But all the other labels were trying to get them. I don't know if they had the same vision that Tom did to do with them, because remember Guns N' Roses came out and Appetite for Destruction. Welcome to the Jungle. I mean, it didn't work at first. I mean, they literally had to re-release that song for, and then all of a sudden it blew up. It was crazy because, Alan Niven and Doug Goldstein were managing them, and they were also managing Great White. So I happened to work with Great White at the time that they were working with Guns N' Roses. And that was a treat because I got in on a lot of stuff, even though I wasn't part of that inner circle. And then to be fortunate enough to go out on tour when they did the stadium tour, Guns N' Roses and Metallica was a blast. That was just an insanity of its own. And by the way, Metallica so enjoyed, going on first, because you never know when Axl was going to show up. I mean,
right?
They wanted to go. They wanted to do their thing. They took all the energy out of the crowd, or at least a good bit of it, and then they got to have their after show party and go on their way. So it was intense.
Road Bully says he's watching this from his house right behind the Whiskey A Go Go.
Right on. Beautiful.
Badass,
go down
brother.
and tell Tisa Byron said hello. If you haven't seen it. Yeah, Mario's granddaughter still runs that place. They were good days, Steve.
So the movie The Dirt,
right?
How did you like the way Elektra was portrayed in that?
I don't know. I don't want to talk down about anything. I enjoyed the movie. The stories were true. When I was working with them, I got to work. Came in halfway through Shout at the Devil, Theater of Pain, and Girls, Girls, Girls. They were a blast to be around, especially being on the tour with Girls, Girls, Girls. I mean, oh my God. We literally, after every venue, one of the strip clubs would provide all kinds of invitations to get the band down there. And literally, it was raining. It was raining all kinds of stuff. And it was crazy. But, I thought I would have preferred that they bring in a few of the more characters that were involved in the band. They really just centered around the band mostly, and Doc. I mean, that was their own thing. But there were a lot of other people that were really close. Not myself, but there were some others that were, I don't want to get into names or something like that. But there were some other folks that really, really helped that train roll, so to speak. But I thought the casting of the characters was really spot on.
Absolutely.
I did. They could have done two more hours of that movie, and it would have still been good.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Robbie.
The Shout at the Devil record is like one of the most influential records from my childhood. I don't know, 13, whatever, when that hit, and it changed and influenced me in a way that changed music for me, changed my thought process on what music could be.
Yeah.
So, absolutely loved it. Absolutely. Where did Poison get signed out of on the Strip? Do you know?
That I'm not quite sure, because I was still at Elektra Records when they were signed. One thing, Vicky Hamilton again. If you ever want stories of these early bands, contact Vicky Hamilton, because she was working with them also, and she was very influential in a lot of these guys getting signed. I don't know exactly, but I remember at first that Rod Smallwood, the guy, he managed Iron Maiden, and Tom Moeller at the time for Sanctuary Music. They were the first managers of Poison, and got to go before Howard Kaufman came in, and they went, in that direction. Rod Smallwood was often at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. He had a house. It was old Peter Sellers mansion that was up the road. And when I mean up the road, like up the road from the Rainbow. At 2 a.m, we closed the Rainbow, and whoever could make it, and it was a hike to get up to Rod's house, open bar, open everything. All he had was his bedroom furnished. He had a beautiful bar and a kitchen table in the whole house, in the whole mansion. Absolutely crazy. I was actually at Elektra when unfortunately Vince had that accident. That was a real bummer. That was sad. That whole ordeal. Unfortunately, I've been around for a couple of the accidents, i.e., Great White too. But yeah, that was a sad time. I remember putting that press release out, and yeah, there was nothing good came out of that, and it was sad that a great musician lost his life. Bad decisions were made, i.e., that stuff happens. That stuff is happening today. I mean, look at that. The Raiders wide receiver. People go out, they do stupid things, and shit happens.
Yeah, so it happens all the time, man.
It's interesting.
Absolutely.
Anita made a comment that she saw Poison in Phoenix in a hole in the wall. I'm just curious if that was Rockers, because I know we had played Rockers, a band I was in, and I think they played after we did, not same night, a different night. And I heard they caused a riot. It was like, and this is before they blew up.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me, because that music back then, that was the excitement. That's what was new. You know, then the metal started coming out, and, you know, it was just, you know, people got dressed up. They just, you know, they totally went. I mean, that Aquanet. I mean, it was crazy. The Purple Can, the Super Duper 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 Hole. You know, all those guys. You know, you read a writer, and they've got like, you know, 10 cans that they had to have, you know, in the dressing room and that shit. You know, just you know, for the show. It was crazy.
Yes. It was
that was an interesting time. Unfortunately, a lot of bands got pigeonholed, I believe, into that hair band thing. And then all of a sudden it was about the image as opposed to the music. And there were some great songs written back then. And it's just sad that everybody, you know, the categorization thing just kind of fucked things up. I'm sorry. Are you allowed to swear on this or not?
You are now.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll watch my language.
Yeah, of course you are. Best random question, but Drake, do you shave your chest hairs? Looking mighty smooth from this end.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Why don't you come on over and find out, Beth?
I would have to say about the music, though. You're right. There's a lot of good music, and it created a stigma for years. But I think that's gone now. I think people are over it now. It's more nostalgic. They look back and think, "Wow, it was good times."
It was.
Even though I do remember playing in Phoenix at Rockers and looking over, and you could see the dressing, not dressing rooms, the bathrooms out over here, and there's a big mirror. And I remember looking out, and there was some guy over there. And he's Aquanet, Purple Can.
Beautiful.
The whole length of the song, and I'm hitting my guitar player and going, "Look at this guy!" And we're laughing, and then we're playing, and we're looking over, and he's still going. And he goes out, and the crowd comes back a little bit later. I'm like, Jesus, man. It was just crazy.
Yeah, you know, if you want a perfect photo of that era, Dawkins' record after Breaking the Chains. Under Lock and Key. Under Lock and Key. I mean, if there was ever a photo that, you know, Mark Weiss took that shot. If there was ever a hair band photo that represented that era of music, it would have to be that album cover. Anyhow, what else is going on?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was going to mention about Guns N' Roses, too, because there was the same thing with those guys. They played a place called Tucson Garden in Tucson. Just before they broke I think the record was out, and there was 30 people there to see them. 1 year later, they came back and played Compton Terrace in front of 30,000. That's how fast that just exploded.
It was amazing. And like I said, you know, at that time, I don't know of any other band that got re-released, to radio with the same song. I don't know that has happened. I don't know that has happened since. But they went back and they put it out. They did it again. They Welcome to the Jungle, literally, for whatever, you know. I know other people will have more of a explanation to it, but the fact of the matter is that song like failed the first time out, and then they had the balls to go and say, no, we're not going to quit. We're going to go back there and we're going to do it again, and then it just took hold. So
they remaster
it with Guns, we'll be able to enlighten you more. But to this day, I don't know that that's ever even happened again, because it costs
they
a lot of
remaster
money
it
to
or
roll that stuff out.
Yeah, that's what I was curious. Did they remix it or master it or anything, or is it just re-released it?
I don't feel that I know exactly how everything that went down, and it was just a fantastic show of. That they knew this band was this band was special, and they were not going to they didn't go to another single. They knew that this was a song to start with. I don't know how they rolled it out differently. Contact a Vicky or a Doug Goldstein or someone like that, or someone from Geffen, and they'll get into more detail. But just being from another label at that time, to have that, for them to go out and do that, I don't know that, because literally it takes $1 million back then to break a band. And that was kind of like the average amount that a label had to invest into a band, to get them really off the ground. And, also back then, remember, there was a lot of payola going on with the radio stations, etc. I mean, a lot of crazy shit was happening back then that they don't do now, just to get things played and up and running. It was a whole different era. I mean, literally, before they started scanning the records, a label would like print up 500,000 units of somebody and throw it in somebody's garage, and there's your gold record.
Yep.
And that would create the hype, to get the ball rolling to a degree. Yeah, those stories are true.
Yep.
Anita just said something I agree with. She says, "I wish I knew you back in the day, Byron. I wanted to work at a record label so bad in the 90s. Now, I can remember living in Burbank and driving past, when I'd go out and about, driving past Capitol Records and thinking about how magical that building was and how much influence it had just to look at it. It was crazy. And you got to spend your time.
Plus, it had, Anita, it was cool because everything was so exciting. And back then, every label had their own stable, and they were known for, A&M had a certain vibe going on. Geffen had their vibe. Elektra, we were all over the place with all different formats, but yet everything was breaking. And then you had Capitol that had all the Beatles history, and not only that, but the Capitol studios that recorded Frank Sinatra and all these guys before that time, and just the history alone. It was, it was magical. No doubt, it was magical.
Yeah, it's wild.
We actually did a couple of parties where, in fact, one of the great white record release parties, I think it was for Hooked, where we literally set up a carnival in the parking lot of Capitol Records. And we had the Ventures come and play, and we had margarita machines and all kinds of like pinball shit and all kinds of games, and literally set up a huge carnival. Spent like $100,000 back in like 1987. I mean, can you imagine that just on a party back then?
Wow.
And $100,000 was a lot more. It's worth a lot more today.
Yeah. Crazy.
We had the budgets because the money was flowing so freely. And we had concerts, at Capitol Records in the parking lot. It was a good time. It was a very good time.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So we should talk about the Party Ninjas then. I mean, how did that whole thing, all that different stuff that you
hopefully, we'll post the video from that. But the Party Ninjas, the name came from the band Autograph. And that was their alias to go out and play and try new material. Turn Up the Radio, was a huge hit. They were doing very well. So they wanted to just go out and play and try out some of their the new material, just like I said. One of those dates was at the Roxy, and they invited some of their friends to come down and play. Paul Stanley came down and played. I believe Slash was there. So they had a few guys come in, and then they, just like played the old standards. So we had a certain group of people: Randy Castillo, rest in peace; Jimmy Bain, rest in peace; Krieger, myself, Vince Neil. There were a group of us that kind of would get together and party, etc. And we said, what a great idea to have artists to be able to get up with their buddies and play. Because literally, you get in a band and you become something. You go on the road, and that's all you're playing is your band's music. But what was so unique was having a show where some of your friends, I mean, because you guys know, a million people from other bands that are doing well, but to be able to get on stage and perform with them, and doing the standards, doing the Zeppelin stuff, the Stone stuff, Thin Lizzy, etc. So we went to the Autograph guys and we said, hey, let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's, with your blessings, we want to use the name, and we want to do like a big jam for charity. And they went for it, and they said it was cool. In 1987, we sold out the Country Club, made like $11,000 for a missing children's foundation called Find the Children. The next year, we got involved with KNAC, and they said, hey, we need help promoting this. We want to make it bigger. This is what we want to bring to the table. Let's do it as part of your anniversary concerts. They said, okay. Tom Mahler and Tom Tom Mueller was, I think, the music director back then. So Armored Saint opened the show with the blessing of Alan Niven and Doug Goldstein. We had Great White and Guns N' Roses. Those were the three headliners. And then we had all of these Party Ninja. We had like 5 Party Ninja lineups in between them with Vince Neil, Randy Castillo from Ozzy, Phil Soussan from Ozzy. A couple of the guys from Crocus came in and played. Simon Wright from AC/DC. We had Dave King from Fastway doing vocals with Vivian Campbell and Bruce Kulick on guitars, the Appice Brothers on drums, and Jimmy Bain on bass, doing Zeppelin and Thin Lizzy songs. Vince got together with Howard Leese and Randy Castile and the drummer from Pat Benatar, Myron Bar. Yeah, it was playing, and Mark Andes from Heart, and it did Rod Stewart and a couple other. And Don Dokken got together with a bunch of people, and it was great because they would do the songs that they never ever get to play live with guys. Yeah. And we did it for charity. And we had a rehearsal the night before. We had it catered. We had great sound system. Came down, and it was quite an event. And like I said, we raised money for Find the Children, and shoot, I think over $90,000 was raised with those shows. And back then, that's a lot of money for just having a good time.
Yeah, 90,000.
Yeah. Wow. Well, between the 3 shows, we had 90 grand. And back then, what tickets were $15-20. Okay, we did the merch. There's some Party Ninjas merchandise still hanging around here, and it was great. And especially have the bands that we did. I've sent you. The lineup we had for '88 was just amazing. Yeah. Then the next year, Wasp and White Lion were the bands, the major bands, and then pretty much a lot of the same guys came back and did it. After that, we wanted to try and take it up to the next level, but we got shot down because of all of the all the management. None of the managers wanted their bands being used for other things. They were afraid people would record them and sell them, and we couldn't really get a favored nations thing that would work for anybody. So that was it. Back then, that was everything was so tight with imaging, et cetera, with their artists and who they were with and what they were doing. We couldn't get anything further, so we let it go.
That's a bummer. I mean, and the ticketing you said was what? How much? $15 or $20 for the tickets?
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't get it'd be well over 100 for something like that. Several hundred, right? I mean,
a lot of times parking was even free back then. Then they started charging for parking. They knew it's like, wow, that's an easy way to make $5 a pop.
Yeah.
Cars. But yeah, 50. I don't know. I think our first one was $15 ticket. I don't know if we even got up to the $20 ticket.
Wow.
But we wanted to make it a special event, and they promoted it on KNAC. They did it, and literally we had CNN came down and covered the event. MTV, Entertainment Tonight, the local news channels did. So we had articles printed in Burn Magazine out in Japan, Metal Hammer, and Faces in Europe. So the word got out of what we did. And unfortunately, one of the ADATs was stolen during the '88 show. And I believe one of the labels in France, X Killer Records, got a hold of it somehow and put the music out. If you go online, you put like KNAC 3rd anniversary Vince Neil benefit concert. I believe Jody Rosen, who was a writer then, posted some recordings from the show. But I mean, crude recordings. But the ADATs that we had in there, and I don't even know why those were even there. Whoever was doing the sound decided to try out the ADAT machines because it was new back then. And a couple of them got stolen, unfortunately, or sold. Like I said, all we tried to do was a good thing, and it still turned out to be a great event.
What was the venue? Where was it at?
I'm sorry. The first one was at the Country Club in Reseda, and then we went to Santa Monica Civic. So we were putting and then the way they make the large room. So we had 3,500 people each night packed in that, and it was great. It was great. You came to see the DJs came down. Tawn Mastery was a huge proponent of the event. Rest in peace, Tawn.
Yeah.
And then Long Paul. I mean, all those guys. They had
Yeah.
All this was like 35 years ago. People looked a little different back then, but it was fun.
We all, yeah. Hell yeah, cool. Brother. Hell yeah. Cool. So we were talking before the show, and a question just came up, actually.
Okay.
About here it is. What bands are on your listening list today or your playlist today? We just kind of talked about that before we came on live about what.
Right. You know what? I go all over the place. I mean, mostly I'm a classic rock guy. That's it. I mean, I will listen to the bands I worked with still because they're all friends and I want to keep in touch. One of the new bands that I like a lot right now is the Dead Daisies with Glenn Hughes and those guys. That just to me sunk in. As far as like other bands, I'm not really actively going out and looking for new stuff. I mean, I'll put stuff up, on YouTube, etc. And I like doing that. But for me, as an old fart at 62 years old, I really like going back and doing the old videos, all the Molly Hatchet stuff. I got to work with them on Capitol for a tour. The Doobie Brothers, they did their Brotherhood record on Capitol. I still love throwing in the early Great White records. Those are things. And I still have CDs too. I still will go to the CD trader and get CDs. That's how old school I am. I mean, okay, I can do the Spotifys and things like that, but I still like kicking back and putting a CD in and just checking out the tunes, whatever I can hear from them.
So. Hell yeah. Robbie. Robbie, we had some questions for you along the way that I didn't want to forget. One of them was, did you ever get a chance to play over in Japan?
No.
I know you played overseas.
Yes.
Well, South America.
Yeah, that was
with Halford.
Yeah.
But you never got to do the Japan experience because, I mean, that seemed like it was more intense than it was even here for a long time.
I don't know. You might know, Byron. You've probably been there with some bands, or have you been?
No, you know what? I have not. I had the opportunity. I did not take it. I understand it's fabulous. I understand it's different. They're very polite. They're very, they really love the music, but it's a different kind of culture thing going on over there. Sorry about that, guys. It's a whole deal, but please, having the chance, right? Please take it. I did get to go to Europe and do the Castle Donington shows and a couple of the shows with Metallica. So I can't remember the venue we were at where Dave Mustaine actually got on stage for the first time in a while. So I went from Elecktra Records working with Metallica over to Capitol Records and working with Megadeth. And it was just interesting, the dynamics at the time, because there was still a lot of bad blood between Dave and the band. And it was kind of funny because, I'm there, David Ellefson is a very good friend and still is today. And literally we'd go hang out with Lars and James, and then Lars would come on and hang out with and party a bit with David and Dave, etc. But, there was nothing getting together, and they certainly weren't going to go to the same places, etc. But yet there was still some communication and, and some goodwill, tossing back a few coldies with all those guys during that period.
Was that Countdown to Extinction? Is that the time?
Yes, Countdown. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, and then Rust in Peace. Countdown to Extinction, Peace Cells Countdown, and then Rust. I keep confusing Rust in Pieces and Rest in Peace. Was the next one that I was able to work, and they're good times for those bands. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. That's when they started kind of shooting up. Everybody kind of knew.
And one of my favorite stories with Megadeth was that we got them involved with Rock the Vote back then. Yeah. And how that came about was, MTV wanted to really get involved. And all right, so they get Bruce Springsteen and Madonna, and they started targeting with those audiences are probably either the kids. Parents were already registered to vote, or they were kids, etc. They were young, but so called up MTV and said, "Why don't you guys target the 18, 25-year-old males?" Okay, because I bet you most of them aren't registered to vote, and that's how we got Megadeth involved with Rock the Vote. And then when they were on tour and doing arenas, MTV would send out registration tables for people to register to vote. And we were signing up a couple thousand kids a night. We were registering a couple thousand kids tonight, and the White House got wind of it. And Dave Mustaine and myself and a couple other folks from Capitol were invited to go to the White House for the signing of the motor voter bill. We got to go to Clinton's inaugural ball from all the efforts that were put in from Megadeth getting involved in the vote. And it was just being cool standing there next to Dave Mustaine while Bill Clinton is signing the motor voter bill into law. And that was such a great event to be part of.
Wow. That's incredible. You don't think of Bill Clinton and Megadeth hanging out in the same room here.
Not at all. But boy, he wanted the votes. He wanted those kids to register. Those 18-year-old males have a lot of angst. And they were registered. And I'm sure they were a little more liberal than the conservatives at that time. In fact, I'm damn sure they were. So, that got noticed. And that was a unique, that was certainly an event. Definitely. There's more to that story with Mustaine and Clinton, but we'll save that for another time.
We want that one on the next one then.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. Well, I'll
Is
tell
there
you
video?
about it first. You'll be kind of shocked. It's a shock. It's somewhat of a shocking story, but yes, definitely. I'll talk to you guys about it off air. And
I don't think anything you could say about Clinton would come as a shock to anybody anymore.
No. I mean, it wasn't rude. It wasn't derogatory in any way. It's just you wouldn't believe the interaction between the two. It was kind of
right.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That would be interesting.
Bill, hey Dave, want a cigar? John says.
Right.
Hey, isn't that a Pink Floyd song?
Right.
Now, is there video of it? There's probably video of it, right?
No. In fact, I've looked for pictures online. I mean, except for people that had cameras back then, I'm sure the White House has something. Maybe I should try to find something, but no, there were no pictures, and we didn't have any. We weren't allowed to take cameers in. I mean, you literally had to go through a lot of security, and they had a couple people taking pictures there. But is there a picture of Clinton and Dave? I doubt it, and unless there's something in the distance where you could see his like redhead, all that red hair, is standing, with the rest of the folks. But I wish there were some of the things I've been part of. I wish there were. More photos.
And some of the things you've been part of, you're probably glad there wasn't more photos of.
Yes.
Photos and videos.
So today everybody has to really be on their guard.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you can't feed your nose like you did back in the 80s openly in a club, How do you feel that MTV?
Huh? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How do you feel MTV impacted the artists in being able to sell records and stuff like that?
Oh, huge. And that was, to get on MTV took everything to the next level. And, I wasn't involved with Metallica when they did, One was the first song to hit it. Yeah. In fact, that was the challenge back then because we knew that, Metallica wasn't going to get radio airplay. KLOS was at that point in time, KMET. This was before KNAC came along. They were not going to play heavy metal, at all. In fact, none of the stations. I mean, the most aggressive you got was Great White, Rat, etc. And when it was amazing when they went on the Monsters of Rock tour, with Van Halen and Ted Nugent and Dokken and I believe Rat. And Metallica was like an early slot on the bill. It started, you could literally see the audience start gravitating towards Metallica because it was aggressive, it was nasty, it was in your face, and you could feel the energy. And those guys performing at that point in time was their best asset because of what they did and how they did it. And it was great to go on the road for those concerts because and even the other artists, they wanted to poo-poo them at first. Oh, it won't go on. I don't get it, whatever. All right, you could say that and do your thing, but literally you could feel the crowd and the energy and just seeing folks going, wow, what is this? This is awesome. And lo and behold, boom, Next couple of years, they went crazy. But back then, there was no radio play for Metallica, and there was certainly, without radio play, you weren't going to get anything on MTV. It doesn't matter how cool it was, nothing without airplay. They were not going to put that kind of money into a video and not get anywhere with it.
The power of radio back then, all the way up until about 10, 15 years ago was incredible.
Yes.
Now it's so social media. I mean, you can become a superstar without ever being played on the station.
That is true. And there was a lot of payola back then. I mean, literally, you had to do a lot of favors for the radio stations to get, I mean, it was great to even get a 3 o'clock a.m. in the mornings, one spin, a tester.
Right.
they would test the records, overnight. But you had to have it. And literally a lot of money, and there were powerful people that had control of those radio stations, those independent promoters. It's like you had to pay up. And so a lot of the band's marketing money would go towards what they had to do to get those records on. And then hence you heard a lot of music you didn't like, and you wondered why it was even on the radio. Well, they had some serious backing to put it on the radio. And then other bands that you thought were great bands, but just did not have the opportunities, lost in Riot. Riot was a band I thought never got their due justice. I thought Riot way back when could have been. I thought they were ahead of the game, almost too ahead of the game, and they just did not. It did not click at the right time. But listen to those old Riot songs. Well, they were doing things before the Motley Crues and the Guns N' Roses, etc. And they were good. They were good songs. They should have been.
I agree. Hey, I need to make a comment here to John McCartney. Radio has gone so far away from new music. Radio hasn't gone away from new music. They've went to get away from active rock. So that is the only real format and genre that's not being pushed in active radio today is active rock. And the reason for that, John, is quite simple, is that companies will not support or pay to be on a station that plays active rock because it does not fit the characteristics of their companies.
Exactly.
That's why that has happened. It pisses me off to no end. I work in radio. I 100% agree. But yeah, it's only active rock they've shied away from. Sorry.
I was going to make a comment about the Monsters of Rock because I talked to Don Dock and telling me all about it. He goes, when they were playing, he goes, Metallica was just killing everybody. And he goes, we're going up there and we're playing. You just got lucky. He goes,
you just got lucky.
And he was going, you know what? He goes, we had to change our set list. He goes, we had to play like the heaviest stuff when Heaven Comes Down. And
you're not going to play Alone Again Without You with after Metallica. No, that's
exactly. He goes,
that was a great White song. Whatever, I mixed the two up. Okay. But exactly. And you know what? You could feel it, Robbie. You could feel it being there. You just saw it with your own eyes. You could feel the energy. It was amazing how all of that came about. Yngwie Malmsteen was on it. Oh, these guys. They can't play. They can't do that. And sorry, Yngwie. Lo and behold.
Yep. I've never heard a good story about Yngwie. Ever. And we've had many people on here who have known him.
Hey, what? I know you're going to end up here soon. I got a great Metallica story from Iowa Jam. Iowa Jam, I think it was 89 in Des Moines, Iowa, at the fairgrounds. It was muddy. Okay, it was Iowa in the mud. All right, it had rained, a lot of rain. And they had on the bill, I know Armored Saint was there. I know Dokken was there. I know King Diamond was there. I can't remember if Great White was there. Aerosmith was there. And Metallica was there. Aerosmith, Ted Nugent. These were all, these were the bands that played throughout the day. And it was fun because after every band was done, literally the after party was at their trailer in the compound. So literally, you're going from trailer to trailer to trailer to trailer, getting hammered. Everybody was hammered. We're doing band, crew, groupies, management. Everybody was trashed. And then somehow, some way, we got invited down to the Coliseum where Van Halen was playing. when Bachman turned overdrive, Van Halen was playing. So literally the buses loaded up. People like falling all over the place. They loaded up the buses. Anybody that wanted to go would get a pass. They regretted this at the age, you know. So literally tour buses pull up behind the arena. We get out and start filtering in. And I'm telling you, when everybody was loaded, they were loaded. And so we were sauntering around backstage, and literally Dave, okay, he was none too pleased. And you could see him looking over all these people all of a sudden filtering around his backstage area. And he was going nuts and on stage. And literally the guys, hey, I'm walking around with the guys from Metallica, and we open up a door, and it was to Van Halen's after show party, and everything was all set up, but no one was attending what was there. I think it was Hetfield. One of the guys said, well, they certainly don't need all of this. So we start, everybody grabbing a bottle, okay, and 2 bottles underarm, cases of beer, and we start cruising out to the bus. Literally, someone had to get fired that night that set up that after show, or who was supposed to be securing it, because literally we walked away with all of Van Halen's party materials, and it got on the bus and took off.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Diamond Dave was not happy.
No, and you could just see it. It was, and you know, he brought it on himself. Okay, he brought a lot of stuff on himself. I love Van Halen during that period of time. I mean, literally, I got my breakthrough, Kevin. But Dave was kind of prickly for, you know, how he wanted his backstage. And when you have like, you know, 300-400 people, and literally, I mean, we're talking 10 tour buses that were just loaded up. You know, all these artists, and everybody's drunk. You know, so cruising around the backstage area, Robbie. You know, it was not a good. It was not a good thing for the band.
Yeah,
but it was fun. We had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I bet the promoter was shitting bricks. I know from promoter
like
shows,
I said, shit happened after that show. I don't know what. I don't want to know what. I felt like I had to wheel myself to get on the plane at 7 a.m. the next day, but. Shit, something went down. It was.
Wow.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I think that's it for part 1, man. When are we going to do part 2? Because we've got a lot of shit to go over still.
And you know what? I wanted to throw some stuff out to you guys, and I will do that next couple of days. And like I said, I have video from the Party Ninjas. I literally have video from that stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. Run some of that
Yeah.
video. Jack says he's got a video. He said to tell you he had a video too. If you were in the back of the bus or something like that.
Oh, no. Okay. Tell Jack there will be hell to pay. Okay. I ain't that old. All right. Yeah. No. See what I'm saying? You gotta watch it. You gotta watch yourself these days. And that was way back. Oh my God, that was way back when too. Okay. All right, enough.
Something about Blue Lagoon story. I don't know.
I was supposed to do that with a straight face and I couldn't.
Oh God. Anyway, all good fun.
He doesn't.
All good fun. All good fun.
You don't have to worry about that one.
I hope not. Really. But well, hey, I won't be too embarrassed, okay?
Right. Hey, I did it. What can I say?
At least it's bigger than that.
I was cold in the pool.
Once bitten, never grew back, is what he says.
You know, things happened. You know, after show, guy meets girl, girl meets guy. You know, meets musician. Yada yada yada. All of a sudden, whoa, okay. You know, what can I say? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Okay, that's why I got into it.
It was the 80s.
You know, it was the 80s. Yeah, blame it on the 80s. Although I will say that the manager of the Doobie Brothers said, Byron, I'm running around with these guys in the 80s. The 70s was 1,000 times better. So I'll take it from Bruce Cohen's, you know, his words to my ears. He said it was even crazier. So
I've heard that from guys from that time period say that, yeah, it's nothing compared to how it was in the 70s. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, okay. Well, I still had a good time. I'm grateful for what I was able to do and able to contribute. And the people I got to meet. I mean, all the great musicians, all the great people involved, the fans, you know, all part of that. You know, and I was just a guy behind the lines, but yet I'm still so grateful for what I was able to be a part of.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hell yeah, brother.
Very cool.
Hell yeah. Well, we'll have to do it again real soon, man.
Okay.
We'll have Jack on here too.
Yeah, but there's a couple other people you might want to throw, one or two that were there at that event that are musicians that may want to, throw in.
Yeah,
and, may get another couple good stories from these guys.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk. Thank you very much, guys.
We'll do it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. We appreciate you. All right, Byron, dude, this guy's legit, man. He's fun. Hell yeah. Awesome time tonight. Thanks for coming on. Absolutely, man. This guy's fantastic. So we're gonna set up round 2 with him very soon, and bring on some artists, maybe Jack and some other people that he may know. And
it'll be cool if we've got video footage from the time. We'll be able to put it up and watch it without any copyright restrictions. So we'll be able to watch it, and then they can comment. And I'm sure the stories will be pretty funny. I definitely will be grabbing a glass of wine for that one.
I wish I could, man. Dang. Awesome show. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate you, my brother. Robbie, how is Jack doing?
He's doing good. He's doing good.
Good. That's a question from the audience. Yeah, lots of good stuff going on. So, right on, Shaggy. Did you see your name?
Huh? Shaggy. Scooby-Doo? You mean Shaggy and Scooby-Doo?
Ruh-roh. Yeah, exactly.
Always messing with my name, are you? Always trying to mess with me, huh? I see how this works. No love for the guy.
You were Edith and Archie earlier. Love for
really?
the guy. I got nothing but love for you. All right. Let's get out of here, shall we?
All right, man. Cool. That was fun.
All right, man. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, we love you. Take care. And we'll see you next week.